So now to our final speaker, John Forbes, Zero Carbon Cumbria Project Manager. John has worked in the environmental sector for more than 20 years, giving advice and support to householders, community groups, businesses, and other organisations on energy efficiency, renewables, water waste, and sustainable transport. Many of these activities have involved working in partnership with community groups, local government, and environmental organisations and other stakeholders. So John joined the Cumbria Action for Sustainability's team in late 2020. And is very much looking forward to getting going on the zero carbon project. So to tell us more about that, over to you, John.
Many thanks, Sarah. Can I just check you can see the slides and hear okay? Good, great. So I'm most grateful for this opportunity to talk to you today about Zero Carbon Cumbria Partnership and what we will be doing over the next few years to make the most of the green recovery. First, some background. The partnership has its origin in two places. First, a climate change subgroup was set up after climate change was identified as a priority in Cumbria's joint public health strategy. This group reported to Cumbria Chief Executives Group and the Cumbria Leaders Board. Around the same time, Cumbria Action for Sustainability and the Lake District National Park Partnership organised Cumbria's first Leaders Summit on climate change to gauge the level of ambition in the county. The meeting also had strong representation from grassroots sustainability groups which make up the Cumbria Sustainability Network. The two groups decided to join forces and the Zero Carbon Cumbria Partnership was established. This brought together public sector, private sector and community representatives in a very powerful way. And the partnership is co-chaired by Cumbria County Council and Cumbria Action for Sustainability. The partnership has grown and now has over 70 members. As you can see from the logos on this slide, the membership is extremely diverse. Every local authority is represented: health, police, utilities, large and small businesses, education, agriculture, the energy and housing sectors, and most importantly, there's a significant community voice and youth influence right at the heart of the partnership. As a group, we've committed to pool our skills, resources, and expertise to do everything we can to try and bring about a zero carbon Cumbria in a way that is influenced by and led by communities and improves quality of life in the county. Partnership meetings are opportunities for honest, respectful conversation and constructive challenge, recognizing that as we come from a range of backgrounds, we have different pressures on us and a range of different objectives. The partnership is there because members acknowledge the urgency of the climate crisis. We can no longer congratulate ourselves for taking a step in the right direction if this is where we stop. The partnership acknowledges that there is a need for transformational change at the pace and scale required by science. We're not there to fiddle around the edges or as a talking shop. Rather, the purpose of the group is to plan and oversee a radical program of action that will enable Cumbria to become a carbon neutral county by 2037, which mitigates the likely impact of climate change, maximizes the co-benefits such as green jobs, health benefits, and the reduction in fuel poverty, and critically is led by and benefits communities. But that sounds very grand. What does it actually mean? Well, the partnership had to ask itself some big questions. This was really interesting with such a diverse partnership. We had to define carbon neutral, and this led to lots of debate. We decided that we shouldn't just do the easy stuff, rather we should consider all emissions that the county is responsible for on a consumption basis. This includes the food we eat, the stuff we buy, as well as direct production emissions. We'll also include extraction emissions and the emissions associated with visitors to Cumbria. We had to work out our consumption emissions, so we jointly commissioned a baseline audit for the county from Professor Mike Berners-Lee and Small World Consulting, and I'll speak more about this baseline study in a moment. We also had to choose a target date, and there was a vast range of views and some very interesting meetings. In the end, the partnership decided 2037 because this date is in line with Cumbria's fair share of keeping global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees. It's extremely ambitious, but achievable. And we're very pleased to see that the business community in Cumbria recently agreed that the target is achievable. We're also currently establishing a comprehensive program of action by key partners and working out who leads the plan for each sector. We are developing our monitoring and evaluation framework, and we're also making plans for wider communication to share learnings with others and to ensure that there is a lasting legacy. Our baseline emissions report, which is publicly available on the Cumbria Intelligence Observatory website, clearly showed us that in Cumbria we have a footprint of 11.5 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent that we need to get to net zero. All of the shades of red are different types of energy and transport emissions from homes and industry. Green is the food we eat, purple is the stuff we buy, and blue are the emissions associated with visitor travel. There's more detailed breakdown of these emissions in the baseline report. By telling us where our emissions come from, it helps us to focus our attention and prioritize our actions: energy, food, and travel. We then needed to look at how we can get to net zero by 2037. There's no fixed correct answer here, not least as we have to make some assumptions, for example, how fast the electricity grid will decarbonize. We also need to work out the best balance of how we will reduce emissions across all areas in a way that also brings about major benefits. The obvious easy wins around insulating homes and making them more comfortable, improving public transport and access to walking and cycling, but there's much more to do. For example, in this net zero scenario, we need to reduce energy-related emissions by 92% by 2037, which will require annual reductions of 13% each year. We will need to reduce food-related emissions by 60%, which will require annual reductions of around 5% each year. And we'll need to reduce visitor-related travel emissions by 85%, which is around 10% per year. Again, there's a more detailed breakdown of this analysis in the baseline report, which, as I mentioned earlier, is available on the Cumbria Intelligence Observatory website. So what do we mean when we say transformational? We realized early on that we needed some central staff resource to coordinate everything. We therefore applied for some funding and were successful in attracting 2.5 million from the National Lottery's Climate Action Fund for a 5-year program of action across the county led by the partnership. As you may know, the Climate Action Fund is a £100 million fund over the next 10 years, and the second round, which is focusing on waste and consumption, is currently open for applications. There are a number of different elements to our program, all of which contribute to our overall aim of ensuring lasting change. As examples, we will develop and implement a communication strategy to broaden and deepen engagement with citizens, businesses, and other organizations. We want to reach new audiences and inspire and motivate them to take action. A local authority climate coordinator, hosted by Cumbria County Council, will transform relationships between communities and local authorities to ensure that there is a strong community voice and influence in policy development and decision making. They will also ensure that we maximize the impact of the citizens' juries, which will be run by our delivery partner, Shared Future. One citizens' jury will be held in each district area, as well as a county-wide citizens' assembly. And some of you may be aware that the Kendal Citizens Jury has produced a really inspiring video, which is now available on their website. It's a very powerful endorsement of this approach to citizen engagement, and I strongly encourage you to watch it if you haven't already seen it. Part of the lottery funding will also be used to help develop the partnership and establish a number of sector groups. Each group will develop and act on clear plans for their sector to reach net zero. The housing and waste sector groups are already developing their plans. We're in process of establishing groups for agriculture transport. Communities will be represented on each of these groups, as well as in the partnership's steering group. We'll also support a wide range of community-led climate action to drive real and lasting change and to strengthen the influence that communities and particularly young people have on climate action. There's a full breakdown on the CAF's website, but I'll give a few examples. There will be a substantial events and training program to help partners, organizations, communities, and individuals overcome barriers to reducing emissions, such as a lack of knowledge, skills, and/or confidence. We'll also deliver an extensive program of carbon literacy training for businesses and individuals, through which we'll train 3,000 people across the county. The feedback from the carbon literacy courses which have been run so far is very encouraging, with delegates reporting that they have more knowledge about what they can do and feel more motivated to take action. Another new post, the CSN coordinator, will support the development of the Cumbria Sustainability Network as directed by its members, all of which are actively involved in delivering projects relating to climate action. There will also be a £100,000 grant fund, which will provide a range of grants over the 5-year period to help grassroots organisations deliver climate-related events, training, and small-scale projects. We will also establish a youth climate action programme to empower and upskill young people in Cumbria to have their voices heard and to influence those in powers to listen and act. Developed in consultation with young people, this is likely to involve initiatives such as a Youth Climate Council, Youth Climate Summits, and a Youth Climate Reporters Scheme, as well as a programme of events for schools, including carbon literacy training. A low carbon food network will also be set up with communities and businesses working together to create low carbon menus and share good practice, with the potential to develop a low carbon food charter for Cumbria and an online low carbon food toolkit. All of this will support community-led action, and community organisations are also leading some of the delivery projects which have been funded by the lottery as part of the programme. As examples, Vista Veg will be delivering a Grow Local, Eat Local project, one aim of which will be to work with local farmers to grow fruit, vegetables, cereal crops to be enjoyed by local people. This will help diversify farm businesses and generate income. Sustainable Carlisle, Pact, and Art Gene will all be running a series of community engagement events and other activities over the next 5 years, which will be organised by community action support officers, which have been funded through the lottery project. And Simply Repair South Lakes will help to establish more repair cafes across the region. Finally, an important part of the programme will be our monitoring and evaluation framework, which will be developed by Small World Consulting, Climate Outreach, and the Lake District National Park. This will help us evaluate the impact of our programme, not just in terms of carbon savings, but also in terms of behaviour change, changing attitudes, and a range of co-benefits such as green jobs and health benefits. As far as these co-benefits are concerned, you may be interested to know that we've just published an independent report which shows that there's potential for 9,000 green jobs in Cumbria over the next 15 years. We'll also be actively sharing knowledge and experience with community groups and other organisations across the UK through the cohort which has been established by the National Lottery and through events such as today's conference. All of this will help demonstrate the wider social, economic and environmental benefits of being proactive and ambitious in taking climate action. Thank you.